Thanks for joining us tonight. Up first at 6, court records filed just this week are shedding new light on the moments leading up to the deadly police shooting of a St. Paul man. William Billy Hughes was killed August 5th by St. Paul police. Investigative reporter AJ Legault joins us now from the newsroom to break down what these new records reveal. AJ?
Julie, the BCA filed this search warrant that we've been reviewing yesterday. It claims that Hughes had fired gunshots into a bedroom wall and aimed a gun at his roommate's head moments before he was shot by police officers. The document says Hughes fell out of bed, became angry, and fired 2 or 3 gunshots into a wall in his apartment before pointing a gun at his roommate's head. The roommate had left the apartment then, concerned about his safety and about Hughes' mental status, and called police. The BCA has previously said that Hughes was shot after police knocked on one of the apartment's doors and he came out another. The document also details that Hughes was suffering from a terminal illness that limited his quality of life and had threatened suicide to his family within the past 4 months. Well, based on the timeline given by St. Paul's police chief, we're expecting that body camera footage from the officers involved could be released this week. Julie?
Wow, lots of new details though tonight. Thank you, AJ.